on a completely digital platform as Bitcoin is, right? This completely digital like protocol that is like tracking time and being used as like a decentralized finance base. There are people who are converging around this idea that like art is a legitimate form there. This is truly a way to see that the culture that you are creating has legitimacy. All societies are remembered by the artwork that they leave. You think of the Roman Empire, you think of columns. You think of the dudes in the little statues, you think of the curly hair, you think of Greece, you think of the ruins, right? You think of the art that these civilizations leave. And I think that Bitcoin having artwork attached to it is demonstrating that there is a society that is worth noting. And I think that that is a win for all of you.
Welcome to The Edge of Show, your gateway to the Web3 revolution. We explore the cutting edge of blockchain, cryptocurrency, NFTs, ordinals, DeFi, gaming, and entertainment, plus how AI is reshaping our digital future. Join us as we bring you visionaries and disruptors pushing boundaries in this digital renaissance. This show is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers that are pumped about where innovation meets culture. This is where the future begins.
Hey everyone, Richard Carthon here, co-host of The Edge of Show, and we are live here at Inscribing Vegas. And I just heard a very spectacular panel. Earlier we heard from Steven, a longtime friend, got to catch up with here about some of his art. He was teasing up Postwook and what you're working on. And what was also awesome is that your father was there to kind of talk through everything that's going on in that panel. So first, for those who might not know you, Postwook, give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Hey, my name's Postwook. I'm an artist. I live in Los Angeles. I mostly am I like to say that I'm like a lens-based mixed media artist. So I use anything that comes out of a camera. That could be like a photo, stop motion, video, anything like that. Love surrealism. I'm a master color grader. So I like to play with like the boundaries of what color can do. And I really like being outside. I feel like just surrealism in the form of like outside landscapes is like a big thing for me. And as maybe you just heard at least, my dad worked for NASA, so I have a huge influence of space in my work, and that kind of like blends together these elements in a way that like otherwise probably wouldn't exist.
Yeah. I think that's a really awesome way to say it. And we've done quite a few interviews today, and this is the first one we've done outside. So it makes sense that you like to be outside and wanted to make sure we had a comfortable environment for that. But a lot of the things that you talked about on stage was very interesting to me, that in some of the art that you do, you have a lot of data that goes into it. I believe you were saying that you sifted through like 40,000 data sets or something like that. Like, just tell us a little bit more about what you're describing on stage.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few different things that I've done. So I feel like chapter 1, I guess, is like the way to kind of break it up first. Was the first thing I did was called The Astronomer's Daughter. And that used very specific dates, right? Like March 5th, 2012 was a very specific date from that collection. And the idea was that date was tied to a sat. And the sat is what like the actual piece is inscribed on. And that is what that's the data that the piece is using. So I broke down the moon phase, the constellation that the moon goes through, the landscape, and the year of the like actual sat, plus any like astronomical data or astronomical phenomena that was relevant for that time. And that specifically became like what I made the like algorithm for the work based off of. So the moon phase obviously is the phase of the moon from that day. That's in the image. And then the sky color is the constellation that the moon moves through. The landscape is represented as the season and the month that the date is on. So March, for example, has March in winter and March in spring because the spring solstice falls in March. So summer and spring, summer and winter. And then there's the year, which is the filter that kind of goes on top of it, which if you're not really looking for it, it might look that might look a little subtle, but it actually brings it all together in a way that like otherwise wouldn't be there. And then the astronomical information is kind of like displayed throughout the sky. And all those pieces are like pulled together through recursion. So that is The Astronomer's Daughter. That's like chapter 1. Chapter 2 is something I put together called the Timekeeper. The Timekeeper is a piece that instead of using retrospective dates that are like very cherry picked, it's actually like every single day. It's a dynamic piece, changes every single day until 2140, until the last Bitcoin is mined, and it's going to change based on the astronomical data. That's for those 42,000, because it's 42,000 days. Right. So it's like I was going through all the data to make sure that like every single day would be astronomically perfect. That was insane. I will say the Timekeeper made The Astronomer's Daughter feel like a cakewalk. Like by the time I finished, I was just like, this is crazy. And I pulled it together in like weeks compared to the Astronomer's Daughter, which I pulled together in months. And I was just like, because I had that knowledge from the Astronomer's Daughter, I was able to really do it quickly. But that was crazy. That was cool. That went up for auction in Sotheby's in the Contemporary Discoveries auction that was in February. That was awesome. And then kind of like chapter 3 is I'm doing this like bidders reward, and that is for a piece in like the Astronomer's Daughter, but the bidders reward is a little bit different. So instead of it, being like retrospective from, dates from the past based on a stat or the future, it's actually dates beyond like pre-Bitcoin, so it's like post-internet pre-Bitcoin. So from 1991 to 2009, those dates. So it's like the day I was born, that falls in it, and it uses a circle instead of like the cool archway. And those are for all the bidders on the digital auction. So those are kind of like the 3 chapters, if you will, of how this has kind of gone.
That's awesome. I mean, 3 chapters in, obviously the first go at it took quite a bit of time to make sure it was refined, and got it to a point where you're really happy with it, which then helped you go with chapter 2 and chapter 3 a lot faster. But it doesn't mean that the energy and intellectual that had to go into like making those pieces was still very profound. So profound in the fact that you had your art pieces displayed on the sphere. So tell us a little bit about that.
So the sphere, it's kind of odd. I mean, this is going to sound very like cinematic, but where was I? I was in the south of France, literally with my friends. I'm on vacation, and I get this email from my agent, and it was like, your art's going to be on the sphere. And I was like, the fuck? And I was like, this is crazy. And I like, really, I mean, looking back, I probably wasn't supposed to say anything to my friends, but I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God. And I start like working on the piece, and it was something that was like very specific for the sphere. So the sphere is like an equirectangular 64K piece of art. It is massive, absolutely massive, had to be animated. And what was really cool about that though was like I got to like make something that was like so like form fitted for the actual screen, and where everyone kind of like used it as a snow globe, I was like, I don't want to do a snow globe. I want to make it like feel like there are these 4 kind of like worlds in this that you can kind of like look through. And I like used a lot of the negative space because I knew like during the day it would be black, so it's like you would kind of just see like this negative space. And apparently the Sphere team really loved it. I don't know, but yeah, it went up in December of 2024, so it took a little bit of time to actually get up. But it's still in the programming. It'll be in the programming until December of 2025. But it's really cool. I mean, it's crazy to say that like I am one of 20-something artists that have been on this sphere in the entire world, like the biggest screen in the world. It like feels really crazy. So that started before the Astronomer's Daughter even. I mean, I was thinking about the Astronomer's Daughter at that point, but it hadn't really started then. And then that kind of like happened as the Astronomer's Daughter was kind of going. I mean, if we want to talk about planets, like the orbits were a little different, but yeah, it was really cool to be to see my art on the sphere. We'll probably see it at some point this week.
Oh, absolutely. It's so awesome. I mean, like you said, one of 20 so far. And, to go through such a finite amount of people to display this art, and the fact that your art was built on ordinals, you could have built your art anywhere. You could have decided not to even do it on blockchain. Yeah. Why ordinals?
That's a great question. Actually, that's a question I like to answer because I think that not everything needs to be on chain. I've made plenty of work that's never been on chain, right? I've made plenty of work on ETH. I've put some stuff on Sol, right? It's just like I have had things in different places. I think for me, the reason that I like ordinals so much is because things are tied directly to the chain. I have the ability to use sats in a way I didn't have on ETH, right? I have the ability to use like these dynamic works that are tied directly to time, directly to the chain in a way that I can't do elsewhere. I'm not one of these like, screw all the other chains people, like all chains have a place. But I think that for me, what makes ordinals so interesting is the aspect of permanence and the aspect that like, I can really use the blockchain as a medium in a challenging way. Like there are challenging constraints on ordinals. The fact that I have to use recursion to make the pieces as large as I want them to be because there are file restraints. Right. That works perfectly for me because I work in layers. So I can just inscribe all the layers separately and then it works on chain. And it's just like some artists, they have to do it in like squares. I don't have to do that. I just do it in the layers, and it kind of like, it feels like a very like, it's challenging. Yes, it feels like a good challenge. I'm into the challenge. I'm here for it. So I'm so glad I love that question because for me, it's like, I have an answer. You know what I mean? For me, it's because I like using the blockchain as a medium, right? Like the sphere, not on chain, right? I can do things that are not on chain that are cool, that push digital art. I like this space because it challenges me to think in a different way. And it's like a puzzle piece. And I'm like, I love solving it. I'm like, I love solving the puzzle. I want to solve more.
Absolutely. I could just tell that, you really enjoy things that are challenging. But then also through the challenge, being able to make something very unique that others haven't been able to see before. And so, we're at this convergence right now of all of these Bitcoin enthusiasts that are here for Bitcoin Las Vegas. But here at this event, we are at Inscribing Vegas. So why be a part of this event? And, what do you think with like all the influence that's now in town with what's going on? Not necessarily just media, but like where things are headed as far as influence is involved.
Yeah. So I think there's a few factions, right? I mean, with the art side of things, I like the fact that on a completely digital platform, as Bitcoin is, right? This completely digital like protocol that is like tracking time and being used as like a decentralized finance base. There are people who are converging around this idea that like art is a legitimate form there. To me, to most Bitcoin maxis, I think if they're like, I don't get it, what you could think of is this is truly a way to see that the culture that you are creating has legitimacy. All societies are remembered by the artwork that they leave. You think of the Roman Empire, you think of columns. You think of the dudes in the little statues. You think of the curly hair. You think of Greece. You think of the ruins, right? You think, I don't know, I don't want to get too nerdy with it, but it's like you think of the Mayans, you think of gold. It's like you think of the art that these civilizations leave. And I think that Bitcoin having artwork attached to it is demonstrating that there is a society that is worth noting. And I think that that is a win for all of you. Just saying. I also think in terms of like not just art, the legitimacy of the decentralized finance is huge. I was at lunch today with someone and we were talking. He was like, I wish I could pay for this in Bitcoin. And it's like, yeah, one day you will be able to.
Easy.
And I think that that's great because it's just like if people's money is tied up in a decentralized source, they should be able to use it. I think in terms of politics, it's shake it out. I have a degree in political science. I've got some thoughts. I think that there's a lot of people right now in politics who are saying things they don't maybe necessarily mean. I think that at least for me, I got into politics when I did to help people. And I'd really appreciate if the people in politics thought the same way. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. What I think you said about the culture being left around the art as a reflection of what happened, I think was very beautifully said. And I think it is a great way to merge the dots for a lot of maxis that are out here. I think what I've noticed so far, this has felt like the least amount of maxi Bitcoin like event that I've been to in a while, which is really awesome to see, but also think that we have so much more to come and on the subject of more to come. What's coming up next for you?
I have a few things. So I have two things on the horizon. The first of which is I'm doing something that's like kind of like a choose your own adventure type of drop that's going to be very fun. It's going to be very inexpensive, very accessible to everyone. The point is that I want people to collect like various aspects of it. And that'll be coming sometime this summer. And then I'm also doing something a little bit later in the year that's a little bit more fine art focused, that involves me kind of going back into my childhood and doing this like very retrospective of like what my life was like. That'll be a lot smaller and obviously a lot more fine art focused. So it'll be a little bit of a different collection, but I'm just excited to be able to make art that I love and be able to kind of like blow the lid off of what I'm trying to do and just like continue to like reach new heights, right? It's no longer about going viral.
Right.
It's about having moments that are actually like longevity standpoint. Like, will this be relevant in 10 years? Will I be proud of this in 10 years? Like, that's the legacy I'm building for. It's not just like, can I go viral and get more followers, you know?
I think it's the right approach, and it always speaks volumes. I mean, you get to display your art on the biggest stage here in Vegas, and I think there's obviously a lot more to come. So for people who want to follow your journey, learn more, and participate in some of these drops that are coming up, how are they able to do that?
So my name is Postwook everywhere, Postwook. You'll see it like right below us right here. But then also you can find me on all apps. I'm everywhere. You can also just DM me, to be honest. I like talking to people. Just be like, hey, I saw your thing. And I'll be like, sweet. But just keep an eye on my like socials, I'd say is probably the best way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I enjoyed hearing you talk on stage, but now getting to talk to you in person. So pleasure to meet you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your time out here.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey listeners, are you ready to amplify your voice in a digital world? Introducing .podcast domains, your gateway to the future of online identity. Whether you're a creator, a company, or just someone with big ideas, .podcast is for you. Own your unique digital identity, connect securely, and explore hundreds of apps with no renewal fees. Don't wait for someone else to claim your name. Secure your .podcast domain today and be part of the next generation of content creation. Visit get.unstoppabledomains.com/podcast to get started. Again, that's get.unstoppabledomains.com/podcast. Your voice, your rules, your identity.
Hey everyone, Richard Carthon here live in Vegas, and we are at Inscribing Vegas, and I am with a long-term friend, Marvin. We've seen each other now at, I don't know, 10 plus conferences all across the world.
Yeah.
And, you've been building an amazing thing over at Maestro, but you guys have come so far since our very first conversation. So, tell us a little bit about what Maestro is and, what you guys are currently working on.
Yeah, so Maestro is a blockchain infrastructure provider, and we really focus on providing infrastructure for UTXO blockchains. And really that's our core niche and our core expertise. We got started on Cardano and we became the leading infrastructure provider there. And then this year, and last year actually, we've expanded to Bitcoin and I've been really growing massively on Bitcoin DeFi, powering top wallets, DEXs, lending protocols, really using our data under the hood to power the application and scale. And then now we're also doubling down on supporting Bitcoin L2s and creating a better developer experience for all these new developers coming and wanting to build, Bitcoin DeFi on these L2 chains that are launching over this summer.
That's awesome. So, we at Edge of have now been talking very heavily into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and there are several L2s out there, right? It's from BitLayer, Babylon, Lambda, etc. And so, for the value that you guys are bringing to the table, tell us a little bit about your differentiating factor and or how you partner with some of the different either wallets, etc., that are building on that.
Yeah, so often when we support an L2, it's a very strategic partnership because we provide critical infrastructure for their developer ecosystem. So, there's a lot of L2s, but there's a limited number of developers. And so all these L2s are kind of fighting to bring as many developers as possible to build on the L2. Right. But to bring developers, you have to create a good developer experience, right? And so to do that, you need to have developer tooling, developer infrastructure, and that's really what our platform does. It lowers the barrier to entry. It builds all these building tools so that developers can come to these L2s and very quickly go from time to market to be half of what it would be without an infra provider. And so it's really a win-win where we come in and we build all these tools for these L2s and we help these L2s kind of be a catalyst for ecosystem growth and adoption and really attract the best and brightest projects to build on the L2.
That's awesome. And like you said, all these projects really need developers to be able to come and build on it, refine, make better, and having these tools that allow that onboarding makes it significantly more valuable and easier to again, bring in that support. So as you guys are kind of refining this, I know you said you started on Cardano, heavily involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem. What does the rest of this year look like? What are you continuing to build on?
Yeah, so our goal is to become the dominant infra provider in the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. And I think Bitcoin is going through a renaissance where its ecosystem has grown more in the past 2 years than it has maybe in the past 5 or 10. Right. And so we really are pushing hard on this Bitcoin L2 ecosystem. We feel like there's a lot of really amazing apps like lending protocols and DEXs and all kinds of cool applications that you can build on top of Bitcoin. And then we're also looking ahead of that, where now we're seeing for the first time real-world adoption of Bitcoin with corporations, with institutions, with banks, with nation states, right? So now it's all of these new players are going to be holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets, are going to be holding Bitcoin in their treasuries. And so these people want to have new services and tools to be how do I put my Bitcoin to work? Right? How do I earn yield my Bitcoin? How do I raise funds or maybe use my Bitcoin to take out a loan, right? And so all these financial rails and this kind of financial infrastructure on top of Bitcoin tailored to traditional finance is kind of an emerging market. And so Maestro is really perfectly positioned to really help that. And so we're talking to a lot of asset managers and institutions and corporations that hey, we're having all this Bitcoin now on the balance sheet. What next? And we need someone to help us build custom solutions that are really optimized for our risk factors, our requirements, right? And obviously institutions are not looking for the same services as a developer or a DeFi apps, but we have the expertise. And so we think we can really build really very powerful new, we call them Bitcoin financial rails or Bitcoin financial backbone to create a new set of products where real world TradFi money can leverage Bitcoin and kind of create like almost a parallel financial system for their customers.
That's awesome. There's a lot coming, and I think that pivot and the ability to work with institutions as they come into the game is going to be massive. And I think it's also going to allow for flexibility with where you're building and who you're onboarding next. That's really exciting. So obviously we're here in Vegas at Inscribing Vegas, and your audience is here. I mean, you have Ordinals projects, you have other Bitcoin L2s, etc. Why did you decide to come to this event and be part of Inscribing Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, it's at the same time at the Bitcoin conference, the biggest conference of the year for Bitcoin. But I think this year is special. I really think we're entering a new chapter of Bitcoin. There is really a whole new energy in the room about Bitcoin. Obviously, the introduction of ordinals and then runes really kind of like changed people's mind of what we can do on Bitcoin and what it means to use Bitcoin, right? I think there's kind of this new generation of Bitcoin users that say like, hey, Bitcoin can be a bit more than a store of value. Maybe it can be a bit more than payments. And so you have this like explosion of creativity and new entrepreneurs that be like, I think we've got something new that we can build with all these new primitives. And on top of that, having, the US government and pro-crypto laws really getting behind Bitcoin in a significant way, and then big asset managers like BlackRock and banks and Coinbase, I think we're entering a market shift where I think we're going to see like the explosion of a lot new applications and a lot new products, and hopefully kind of onboard, people that haven't touched blockchain yet, that don't know much about crypto, but now finally feel like the user experience or the benefits really makes it kind of like the time to get into this industry.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is a really exciting time. I think the best days are ahead of us, and it's exciting to be in this room, being around all these amazing people who decided to come out to this event. So for those who want to learn more about what Maestro is building, how can they learn more about Maestro? And if they want to connect with you, how can they do that as well?
Yes, so you can find Maestro at gomaestro.org, or you can find us on Twitter. I'm Marvin at Marvin DeFi, and join our Discord. We'll love to chat. If you're building on Bitcoin, you're building on L2s, you're building DeFi, just hit that up. And we love working with young entrepreneurs and big companies. So far, we've processed billions of API requests, and we're powering over 280 different projects and applications simultaneously. Join the movement and let's build.
Absolutely. Hey, we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Edge of Show in Vegas at Inscribing Vegas live. And I'm here with our guest today, Ed, aka Snooptoshi, the CEO, founder of Curved Reality. It's been a minute since you've been on the show. It's great to have you back.
Thank you for having me. Great to be back yet again. Wonderful time in Bitcoin at the moment.
It is. And a little history. I met Ed when we were in the process of getting the show going, over 3.5 years ago. I think we just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. And
congratulations.
I remember hearing about your vision for Curved Reality back then, and now vision's coming to life, right? You have a booth at Bitcoin Vegas. Congrats.
Thank you.
And let's catch up. What's going on with Curved Reality?
So where to begin? Well, I'm Ed Mason is my human name, Snooptoshi, as people know me in the space, but I've been in the emerging tech space now for quite some time. I started building hardware with NVIDIA back in 2012, formed an official partnership with them in 2017, and have been building various products and prototypes along the way. We partnered with the partnership we have with NVIDIA gives us access to what's called the Android Baseport and their chips that are built for driverless cars and embedded machines. So you may be familiar with the latest AI chips NVIDIA are coming out with. So our company is taking those chips and building novel use cases around them.
When did those chips come out?
So the first Jetson modules came out about 8 years ago, and over the course of 8 years, we've seen constant iteration and upgrades with the power of these chips. The latest ones that Jensen just showcased was something called Orin, which we support in our hardware as well, which are these very powerful AI-centric chips.
That's what I was going to ask. Is I assume that they're now sort of tailored towards using the full capabilities of AI, right?
Correct. So the developer kit that we've now built and we're starting to ship to developers is quite interesting because it's the only device that is powered by NVIDIA hardware that allows you to have DisplayPort over USB-C. And this is really, really useful for when you want to start looking at robotics and AI. These developer kits allow you to put in effectively an AR headset, and through that use the local horsepower that we have with these NVIDIA modules to be able to do any local LLM running, any vision detection, anything that you might need advanced AI horsepower for. We basically have it in this very small portable form factor. So it's a very novel developer kit that can be used in a host of different ways, starting as what we call a spatial computer. So effectively a very small form factor desktop computer that has hot swappable batteries. In fact, we just had the patent on hot swappable batteries in XR devices come through. I could go on. I could go on for a while. There's a lot with this technology that we've been building, but you'll get a heads-on view tomorrow at the booth.
That's exciting. And what's sort of the implications for blockchain and Web3 with this type of technology?
So AI and blockchain, I think, is where the two technologies will converge. I like to think that crypto is the currency for AI. And so with that, we'll see a lot of closer synergy for AI chains and coins and tokens that all have some AI play.
And how does that fit in with Curve reality?
So with Curve being a developer kit, we see the future of decentralization of content, and especially on Bitcoin, being focused around storing code on sats. Ordinal theory is this ability to immutably store data onto a Satoshi, and a lot of people are creating images and pictures and videos to put on them, but we've started putting code on them. So we built an entire operating system that is used as a device that will effectively let you get into Bitcoin easier than ever before.
Cool. That's really exciting. Yeah, I mean, so like how far do you think we can take this building on Bitcoin concept, and like where do you think we are with sort of overcoming some of the friction points that people, bring up on a regular basis?
The friction that we see is something that is valid. I don't think that Bitcoin will be used as a medium for every asset to be stored on. I think it's a great medium for people to store assets that they want to be immutably stored forever. So important artifacts, let's say. Any code, anything that you want to put somewhere once and it to be accessible to the world for the rest of the time, that's what Bitcoin does beautifully. And so I think there's a certain use case for that. And I like to see that applications in a lightweight fashion can be used, artwork, even images and videos to some extent can be stored in an immutable way. And that I find interesting because Bitcoin's been a store of value for a long time. And if people don't believe in Bitcoin as a store of value, they may see Bitcoin as an interesting medium to collect something such as a digital asset. So the innovation that introduces is great.
And with what you guys have rolled out with NVIDIA and what you're sharing at Bitcoin Vegas, what are the use cases, the conversations you're having, the partnerships sort of forthcoming that you're most excited about?
So we love working with anyone in the Web3 space, in all honesty. The main focus has really been looking for content creators to be able to bring either AI applications, XR applications, or Web3 applications to the developer kits in time for the consumer launch. So really being on in these show floors, being able to meet other people who are in the space, we're always keeping our eyes out to see what interesting novel use cases would make a good fit for what we're building. So there's a lot of unknowns in this space, and there's a lot of interesting tech that's being built. And so we like to try and find what's interesting first and see if it could be housed in some way, shape or form in the platform and the product that we're going to be releasing.
And what's the timeline on the product?
So developer kits are being shipped in about 3 months to developers. You can request one on the curvereality.com website.
Great.
And the consumer product will be rolling out about a year after that.
All right. Well, Ed, it's always great to catch up with you. And I know like products like this take time, which is not always like something our community has the patience for when it comes to like a typical digital product rollout, but the intricacies of physical products and the post-COVID age of, global supply chain, it ain't easy. So
certainly not easy.
I want to, acknowledge your efforts here and the journey, and excited to continue to follow along with what you're up to. Any other information about where people can go to sort of follow you? You're an X. You're all over X. I go to my Twitter and then it's like Ed's talking, pretty much. But what's your?
I'd say curvereality.com and Curve Reality on X is the best place to keep up to date with what we're doing. And if anyone's interested in XR, in Web3, in AR, in any way, shape, or form, reach out because we've got some cool hardware for you.
All right, great to see you, Ed.
Thanks so much.
Let's take a pause to shout out one of our favorite partners. For tech innovators facing legal challenges, Zuba Lawler is your go-to law firm. They focus on understanding your technology and business model before addressing legal requirements. Specializing in blockchain, AI, VR, AR, quantum computing, and more, Zuba Lawler offers expert guidance in capital raising, IP transactions, M&A, litigation, and compliance. Visit zuberlawler.com, that's ZUBERLAWLER.com, for cutting-edge legal solutions.
Hi everyone, Josh Krieger here, co-host of The Edge of Show, live in Vegas at Inscribing Vegas, where all the members of the Bitcoin and Ordinals community have gathered together. I'm here with a longtime partner, friend of ours, John Dorfman, aka Sailor Gary, who's the CEO and co-founder of Spirit Punks. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Josh. Good to see you.
So I guess let's start with the obvious. What brings you to Vegas?
We're here for the blockchain, right? See our friends, have a couple cocktails, put on some fun shows.
Right on, right on. Yeah, you guys are always you add a key ingredient to the levity of these events, and have been a great partner over the years with a lot of our events in LA. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about sort of how Spirit Punks got started and how it's sort of evolved over the years.
Yeah, we're coming up on year 4. Since our original founding, we've come a long way. We're tacking on over 260 events.
Wow.
We've had product at around the world. We're obviously here in town for Bitcoin Vegas. We're launching some actual like ground market campaigns here this summer, as well as a little bit in LA and Miami.
For those that aren't familiar with the liquor industry, what is a ground market campaign?
Ooh, yeah. Big alcohol requires boots on the ground, tactile campaigns, as well as capital expenditure on the top of it. So we've kind of been softening the global target using decentralized IP for the last 4 years, and now we're really
Starting with Bored Ape IP, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we originally I didn't mint my Bored Ape, but I bought my Bored Ape in July of 2021 to be a meme alcohol spokesperson for our brands, kind of leveraging the decentralized ownership and IP rights associated with that collection. But we're blockchain agnostic, really. We're going to be in NFC Lisbon next week.
I'll see you there.
We'll have some limited edition World of Women board minis
Nice.
circulating around. But
And like, how has sort of your perspective on using decentralized IP shifted just from the experience on the ground doing it for the last 4 years?
I mean, really, it was the value really became emergent to us. It wasn't something we, were jumping in to really capitalize on. We wanted to make one-off luxury meme alcohols partnered with nonprofits. We were looking for ways to make that more authentic. We weren't even really in like the digital art collection game at that point, but it really kind of catalyzed that experience. We're obviously very bullish on like the physical product integration as a massive onboarding and touch point ramp, but the decentralized IP part is really what captivates the world. It wasn't, we do a bunch of logistics to put products in venues, and then it wasn't until a few years in that venues started hitting us back, totally unrelated to blockchain, and saying, hey, you guys got some ugly monkey vodka. We had patrons who really like it. How do we order another case? And it was this kind of light bulb moment for us where,
Nice.
we get to be building with people in, dozens of different sectors in different verticals. And, we found a comfy home here.
So how is the competitive landscape in terms of alcohol changed? I mean, obviously there's been a rise of non-alcoholic drinks.
Yes.
And there's always I feel like there's always something new, whether it's like, alcoholic kombucha or tea. Like, what's it like to sort of be in that sort of dynamic environment, trying to create long-term value and still being nimble enough to innovate and try new things?
Yeah, I mean, big alcohol is very much a cartel in terms of how the global operations run. It's traditionally incredibly cutthroat, but the nice thing about blockchain, or like the niche of it, is that I want to see everyone in this room at this conference succeed, because they're raising a value proposition that's different than just whatever good they're selling or whatever service they're providing. Like, we get to onboard people to the value proposition of blockchains. And so even if you're not a vodka drinker or not a whiskey drinker, if you're in blockchain, chances are you want to see us succeed, and we get to feel that. So it's really, it's very powerful.
And does the regulatory climate and the shifts sort of in the U.S. market create new opportunities for innovation and integrating technology for your brand? And like overall, like how do you think it'll impact growth over the next few years?
The regulatory landscape is a challenge, but if we can kind of build even in what we call hard mode, it really does a lot to showcase how physical products, alcohol and otherwise, will become a massive driver for onboarding.
Nice. Well, John, thanks for hanging out, and
It's always like.
And tell us a little bit more about how people can get involved in what you guys do.
Yeah, track us down on Twitter and Instagram, Spirit Punks, Sailor Gary. Check us out, boardvodka.com if you want to buy some alcohol online, even though nobody does or really should, but we'll make it. The goal is to make it, totally ubiquitous and available, right? We got to you buy vodka when you're going to your friend's barbecue, picking up burgers and buns.
Well, wish you the best, and thanks again for being such a great partner.
Our pleasure. What's up, everybody? Richard Carthon here at Inscribing Atlantis. We're live in Las Vegas, and I'm here with a longtime friend and colleague, and who is absolutely killing the game here, building and doing a lot of arts, actually, on the Bitcoin ecosystem, but also just heavy in the art game, period. We have Stephen Miller. How you doing today, brother?
My dude, I am so fucking good, and I apologize for already dropping an F-bomb on your stream, but
It's strong, baby.
I was about to say, man, like this is the world I now live in. You and I did so much content together for years, but now that I'm in the arts, like it's 100% colorful commentary every single day.
100%, man. So, like, you've done so much into the art space. You have a weekly digest that you create. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically I've been doing this curated digest now for a little over a year and a half. And it basically takes people all the way inside of, every single release that you can imagine that's coming up in the space, whether it's on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Tezos, doesn't matter. If you're an artist, I include you, because I want to make sure that these individuals are getting the voice and more of a platform than they currently have in the space. So I do that every single week. It drops every Monday. But besides that, man, I've been doing a lot of content in terms of, my own show on Tuesdays, now starting live streaming. And it's keeping me nothing short of busy.
So, first I want to just talk about, like, the job that you do is really awesome. It is very thorough. It is a Twitter thread that goes deep. It gives a lot of information, gives references back to people. Like, I've obviously been watching it for a long time, and I've been very impressed. And it's helped you garner a really good authority in the space for this. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why you're speaking multiple times today. So before you tell us about that, tell us about, like, what you talk about on your show, and have been doing.
Yeah, so on my show, every single Tuesday, I've been doing coverage, like specifically spotlighting artists, right? Talking with them about what they're releasing, what they have upcoming. But on top of that, which I think is probably the more important side of it, is it's getting deeper into the art than just the financialization of it, right? In our space, obviously, there's a degen over there, there's a degen over there. Like, they're literally all around you at all times. So when we talk about art and we talk about NFTs and we talk about inscriptions, 99% of the time, people are only focused on what's the return, what's the ROI, instead of what's the impact on culture? How does it add to the artistic conversation that we see occurring around the world in contemporary art? I like to break down that and get inside of more of the human element behind the artwork so that people can start to break down the financialization wall to better understand, okay, like what is it that I'm really connecting with here? What does it mean? How does it make me feel? So that's a lot of what I do on color commentary, but I love getting the chance to do it every single week because it's making a difference for those artists.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, I know there's a lot of people have been put on game through what you're doing. And also the education part of it has always been, I know, very critical from you from day one, just helping educate everyday people on everything that you're bringing forth. But on top of that, you get to speak today here in Las Vegas. So tell us a little bit about, what you're talking on today and everything like that.
Yeah, so first and foremost, it's been an honor to be able to work really closely with the team here at Inscribing Vegas. They've been doing events all around the world. So like pretty much on every single Bitcoin-centric conference or big event, they've had an Inscribing edition in that city. And going back to Miami, just this past Art Basel, I got the chance to actually work directly with them in steering content for that show. And it gave me a lot of opportunity to help show people that like we can make content much richer, especially in that art context. But here at this event during Inscribing Vegas, I've got the distinct privilege to be able to host a fireside chat with one of my favorite artists in the space, Postwook. She has been around for years and years and years. Her artwork is currently being shown on the Sphere.
Awesome.
So I mean, like she's a very, very big deal. The collection that she released last year is called The Astronomer's Daughter. And we're doing basically an individual fireside chat speaking not only with her about the collection, but we're featuring her father on the stage with us. And he is the astronomer behind The Astronomer's Daughter. Like it's the entire motivation behind the collection because she has so much respect and reverence for her father's work as a like long-term software engineer working for NASA. So the collection's deep, dude.
Yeah, man.
But we're going to break down some really, really interesting nuggets on that stage today. But then shortly after that, I'm also going to be on a generative art panel that is absolutely stacked. We've got Billy Resty on that panel to be moderated by Donnie Clutterbuck from Emojis. And it's just top to bottom, some really incredible individuals who are making waves in generative art. So I'm stoked to be able to sit alongside them. Because while I am a commentator, I also launched a collection in March.
Which I wanted to talk about. So like it makes sense for you to be on this panel, obviously from what you know, but also from your own experience. So you just launched Behold, which I am going to raise my hand and let everybody know that I am a holder. But tell us a little bit about that.
I was going to say, dude, it's been a pleasure getting a chance to like actually share this collection with people because so much of the work that I do is rooted in like art discovery and helping people to explore art at like the much broader scale. So doing this collection on Bitcoin and making it about that at its core and helping people challenge like their perception of art, subjectivity, and really expressing gratitude to those around me that have helped me early on in my journey, it really drove that collection to become what it was. And it's a really, really special collection that I'm very, very proud of. But what's more, other people are seeing what was put into it in a really meaningful way. And by that, I mean, like, it's literally been picked up and is now being shown at the Inscribing conference here today. It's being shown tomorrow at the Arch Network event. That's going to be an all-day conference. It's being shown at the Bitcoin 2025 gallery at the expo floor. You'll be able to see it there. And it's going to be at the Trio Tyson Tiger Mansion each of the nights this week. So the fact that it's resonating and people are really starting to understand what goes on behind it, that's been the biggest thing for me. Like, as much as I love getting a chance to work on this, it's the fact that the message is resonating. It's like the most important thing to me.
Absolutely, man. And like, I know a lot of energy that went into this, and obviously you got a lot of people supporting and continue to like put this out to the world, which is like a really good, I don't want to say coming out party, but like, because people have known about this, but you're also getting to meet all the people and shake their hands and get to know them a little bit at a deeper piece of this. And I think it's awesome that's going to be shown at all these different places. So obviously I'm very hyped for you. I'm excited to hear what you're going to be talking about today. But for people who want to learn more about you and what you got going on, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can definitely get in touch with me over at Steve Miller _PHX. That's at Steve Miller _PHX. I'm fairly accessible, especially to artists, but if you want to talk about curation, which I do plenty of, or you want to just get to know the art space better, I consult with a number of different people and I advise for a number of different companies in our space that are really focused on art. So I would love to be able to chat with anybody who's interested in that sort of thing. But otherwise, I'm happy to be able to get to know some of these folks. And of course, be able to catch up with good people in space like you is that, we go back way, way, way.
Way back.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, everyone make sure you go check out Steven. Hey, brother, it's always a pleasure. And
We've reached the outer limit at the Edge of Show for today. Thanks for exploring with us. We have room for more adventurers on our starship, so invite your friends and cool strangers to join our journey. If you're among the hundreds of thousands following us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or watching us on Myco or YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, rate us, and make an awesome comment too. And don't forget to pass this episode along to a friend or two who would benefit from it. Doubling back to again, recommend checking out myco.io, where you can watch The Edge of Show and earn for your time and attention. That's myco.io. Don't forget to visit theedgeofshow.com. The is part of the domain name, where you can learn more about collaborating with us and also subscribe to the Edge of Weekly newsletter for the latest Web3 news, events, and show drops. In addition, connect with us on all major social platforms by searching for The Edge of Show. Join the exciting conversations happening online. Lastly, be sure to tune in next time for more great Web3 and AI content. Until then, keep pushing the boundaries. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. The views and opinions expressed on The Edge of Show reflect solely those views and opinions of the show host and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of these links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.